The 15-year-old suspect held in custody in the Bite of Seattle shooting that left 3 people dead and 5 others hurt has now been charged.
Fox 13's Lauren Donovan got her hands on the charging documents. So, Lauren, this is the most detailed account we have so far. What stands out to you?
Hannah, I really think going through the pages of it, that the fact it gives us insight into the relationship between the 15-year-old who will be back here in court on Thursday and the 19-year-old, also now labeled as a suspect, who was shot and killed there at Seattle Center. They were initially identified as associates, and we were like, what exactly does that mean? But now we have some more insight. So, as officers were taking away this 15-year-old away from the scene, that 15-year-old is reported saying to the 19-year-old there on the ground, "Love you, bro." So I found that actually very interesting in terms of, it seems like these two are familiar with each other. I don't know what you guys think about that.
They're obviously in the same gang together, that's for sure. I think what is shocking to a lot of people who maybe don't follow this as closely as some of us involved in covering crime is the number of ghost guns on the streets in Seattle and the Pacific Northwest. We know the 15-year-old used a ghost gun. Of course, that's a gun that's made on a 3D printer. But what more have we learned from the docs about the gun that they caught him with?
Yeah, they found it, David, on his person, the 15-year-old. What happened really was there was a number of officers that were already scheduled to be at the Bite of Seattle as per any big event here in town. They were over by the Armory when they heard a volley of gunshots, and so they started moving towards the area where they heard the sound coming from. They found the 15-year-old. They were shooting into the crowd, and then they apprehended them as they were trying to get away, and then on their person they found that ghost gun. Now, what's really interesting in this report, and we were waiting for the ballistics report to come out, David and Hannah, is that this 33-round magazine, this ghost gun without a serial number, preliminary analysis from the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab found that it was not, in fact, the weapon that caused the deaths of the 2 innocent bystanders there, which then kind of colors the fact of like, oh, here we see these lesser charges, because there was a big question, are we going to be looking at homicide with this 15-year-old or not, right?
Right. And also, I just want to add something about the ghost guns issue. You know, politically speaking, we know that there are laws, and David, you know this, there are laws against ghost guns right now, right? So it's against the law, but yet clearly the law doesn't really have much teeth because a lot of people are still printing and using these guns. Also, you brought it up, Lauren, about those charges possibly being upgraded. We know, again, he had 33 rounds in that magazine, and more than a dozen bullets were fired from that 15-year-old's gun. Could we possibly see charges be upgraded against the 15-year-old?
Yeah, Hannah, I think that was really the question looming over the courthouse today when we were waiting to get our hands on these documents, that probable cause statement that's shown us so much. A detective concluded that there was enough probable cause that the teen was firing into the crowd, showing a disregard for life, causing harm, danger to everyone, hitting people, thus the assault and the unlawful possession of a weapon charges, but those were not upgraded to homicide. This, though, is interesting. I think this is extremely notable. We can talk about this, but in this case, we just heard from King County prosecutors that they also made a motion today to decline juvenile jurisdiction, and that does not mean the case is declined. That means, in fact, that prosecutors are asking a judge to allow criminal prosecution as an adult. That determination, I'm sure David can get into more of it, but it is a longer process that could take months, potentially even years. Is that right, David?
Yeah, this could actually take over a year to happen. It's almost like a mini trial. They have to determine whether or not that they can charge him as an adult. If he was 16, they would automatically charge him in that case. I think one other thing that stood out in the docs that's important for people is that the docs say witnesses told police that there was a third suspect in a blue top who started firing first. That suspect has not been identified or caught.
And it's also notable there, too, that it seems like, as you stated, David, those two, the 15 and the 19-year-old that we know were involved in this case, that they did recover weapons from, those two did have some sort of relationship. So there is somebody else out there. Potentially, those were friends. This other one is a foe. But we got to wait to find out some more information, right?
Right. Lauren, thank you so much for that report on those latest charging documents.